What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the Sobacksports podcast, and we're so back with another episode. And we had some interesting news to start off our day today. Things were going pretty well for at least for the most part this week. But now we have some interesting news with regards to Indiana. We've been hearing a lot about Indiana for the last couple of weeks and couple of months, I would say, and it seems like it's a real possibility that the Bears are potentially moving there. But before we get into all the content, because we do have a lot of stuff to talk about on today's slate, let's introduce our guests today. CV, my man, how are we doing? How are we doing? It's been a while. Been a while since we chatted last.
Yeah, it has, and obviously it was a really good season, and I know we enjoyed the heck out of it, and obviously we know with the news today, it's kind of just it's sort of bittersweet. It's just we come off this amazing season, and this is the news we hear from the off season. Amidst the Crosby trade rumors, amidst all these Trey Hendrickson signing rumors, and this is kind of what we get not trending in the right direction. I just hope this gets fixed.
I hope so too, because I guess then now let's segue to our first point. And actually, before we do the overall review, Bears seem to be, talking about making their move to Indiana. It's kind of for those who don't know or been kind of living under a rock, I guess today, and honestly, it's a good thing that you did, because the Bears this morning were supposed to meet with the Illinois government, their financial services, and I always forget the name, I always mess it up, but they're supposed to meet with them today, but they found out this morning, or at least the government found out this morning that it was canceled, and that the Bears specifically were in talks with Indiana, and as of right now, they put out a statement saying that they're looking into three different areas within the three different sites that they're looking to expand on in the Indiana area. Uh, Mainly Gary, Hammond, and what was the last one? It was like something Lake, Fox, not
Wolf
Fox
Lake.
Lake, Wolf Lake. It was
Yeah.
one of the things. um, but now that that's a big thing now, and it's looking like as I think Hogue says that they're essentially like Indiana government and the Indiana team are essentially on the goal line right now, waiting to get this deal done with the Bears. And that's the thing about the whole situation right now is how quickly this really snowballed into it. It took only 2 months for the Indiana government to get a solid deal ready. Um, and they were kind of lurking in the shadows to say the least, and they found a way to intrigue the Bears. And for the last 5 years or so, or 4 years, however long Kevin Warren has been part of this franchise, his main thing was to build that stadium. And right now it seems like they're pivoting to a new direction, and it's out east. In if and for anyone that's knows anything about the East. Now we're talking about Eastern Standard Time, if you think about it too. So
Yeah.
it's another thing to consider too. Yeah, it's gonna be. I mean, I want to get your thoughts on this first before I can. Yeah, I kind of yapped a little bit too much right now, but yeah, let's get what are your thoughts this morning? How did just take me through your thoughts on the news as they came out throughout the day.
You know, it's funny because I think when we, like you mentioned, like 2 months ago, we kind of heard, bits and pieces about Indiana coming in with some sort of offer. And let's be honest, I don't think anybody really took that serious. It was just kind of like, okay, we have this as an option here, whatever, but no way in no chance in hell, from the Bears, right? Like maybe you could talk me into like the Bulls or the Cubs or Sox doing it, but this is a Bears town. There's no shot. It was just more of just doing your due diligence, and as literally since that time, really the talks have only gone up. Really, like I know that at some point they had discussed Arlington Heights, and I think for a very brief moment we had discussed Naperville. And as much as I would love to stay in the city of Chicago and downtown with that view, and if we were just able to fix our parking and everything, and some of the things that are stadium capacity and stuff like that with Chicago. At the end of the day, I always knew that no matter what, I just want to stay in Illinois. Like literally, I don't care where in Illinois, just stay in the damn state. And so when this bill came out this morning, and it was just more of like I wasn't really surprised because I know like this our government has just not been doing a good job. And honestly, I will say this too, and I'm not gonna try to, go too much into this, but I do think the Bears are sort of at fault too as well. I don't
Yeah.
think both sides. I think both sides honestly are equally as fault. At the end of the day, you got to remember that the Chicago Bears, they're a business. They're going to go towards the money first, So obviously they're going to, the main driving, moneymaker is us, the fans. But at the end of the day, if they can do the math in their head and say, well, they're still going to come to our games regardless of where we're at, they're going to move to Indiana if that's what feels best for them. I know they want to stay in Chicago if the playing field is even on both sides, they would stay in the state at least. But when I saw that news this morning, I wasn't too surprised. I'm going to be honest with you. I was disappointed. I was very upset, but it was just kind of like, yeah, we had saw the offer that I forgot what the terms and details were, the original terms and details, but I kind of looked at that and I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I don't really blame you guys for going, for at least checking out Indiana. I'm gonna be honest with you. And it's funny because I don't really have like a problem with the site itself. Like you're talking about a spot that you can, sort of build a little on kind of like Arlington Heights, a little Bears town. I think all the problems that we've had being in downtown Chicago with how much congestion there is. We talked about the parking situation, having a dome. I think all that will get solved there. And that's never been my problem with that. It's just the fact that you're taking away, a long-standing tradition of the Chicago Bears, an iconic franchise, and you're moving it out of the state. And I know people are going to be, bringing up the New York Giants and the Jets playing in Jersey, or the Kansas City Chiefs, in Missouri or whatever, and a few of those examples, and I'm like, okay, cool. I'll to counter argument here. I don't think the Jets or Giants are, the main team of New York. If
Model
anything,
citizens. Yeah. Oh,
it's a baseball town. It's the Yankees are like the Yankees are what the Bears are here. Imagine that they moved the Yankees out of that state. That entire state would
oof.
blow up. Like the entire city would
Literally.
crumble. So it's just like, why would you? I don't know. I really hope that this is some sort of negotiation tactic, some sort of
Hmm.
scare tactic by Kevin Warren, by the Chicago Bears ownership, to be like, hey, like, to the U.S. government, to the Illinois government, be like, hey, like, just so you know, like, we are very much considering moving to Indiana, so you better get on the ball. I hope to God, because if I have to go to a Bears game in Indiana, I mean, I don't mind it too much in the sense of like the drive and, like I said, the area. But once again, you're taking the main culture, or at least a huge culture, out of Chicago. Like, what do we have here? Think about it. We have the Bears are the only good team now. Like, the Bulls ain't doing nothing. I mean, you have obviously the Cubs. We looked, maybe we become good. The Sox have been pretty bad for a while now. The Black Sox haven't been that great. Like, we're like the brightest future here, and we're gonna move it out of the state. What does that leave Chicago? So I have no clue what's going on, man. I really hope that we don't end up in Indiana.
Yeah, I completely 100% agree with you. I think I kind of was in the same thing. I was a little bit like, are we serious? I'm waking up to this and I'm like, ah, here we go again.
Right.
Like we have to, talk about this stadium. I feel like, and I think I put out a tweet earlier on, like, this is the most irritating tug of war I've ever seen in my life. And it's a tug of war game that's been going on for about 5 years now.
Yeah.
Um, or even if you want to take into account that before Kevin Warren, and like how, the stadium and the renovations that they did, things like that, it it's a ongoing thing. From building a new stadium, a more modern stadium, is something that has been on the radar for the Bears for quite some time. And I think at this point in the game, they're really just looking at it like, we want to find the most optimal and cost effective way to build a stadium. Wherever it may be, it doesn't matter at this point. And given how many years of negotiations that's been happening, we're trying to find a way to give the fans and the product what they want when it comes to a new and modern stadium. Because looking at this stadium compared to like the stadiums out there in the NFL, we're one of the worst. And you could even say that now you can't even use Oakland as an example anymore because they moved out of Oakland to Las Vegas and they have a great stadium there. The team isn't great, but at the same time, the stadium is great. That's the principle. But either way, I just think that you know like teams like the Rams when they moved to LA, um, the 49ers when they moved to Santa Clara, they're still going to be called the Chicago Bears because while it is in the state of Indiana, they're technically within the Chicagoland area. Because the Chicagoland area does cover, for those who don't know, like a part of Indiana or like the northwest part of Indiana, which is absolutely absurd in a sense. In my book, like it makes like why is it Chicago? Chicago's in the state of anyways. Um, I just think that from that perspective, it will suck for the fans a lot because you're taking a product that's been notoriously known and one of the founding teams in the NFL being moved to another state. Um, and I just kind of want to get your opinion on this too, because I've been kind of hearing different opinions and opinions that I haven't heard in a while, like CHGO, for an example. Um, and I think one of them brought up a really interesting point. They mentioned how the Bears moving to Indiana, anything that they do when it comes to, you know, like a championship or winning and things like that will be, in a sense, discredited or not seen as like to its fullest potential or the full glory of it because it's in Indiana. However, if they lose, it'll be even 10 times worse. And it also keep in mind the fact that they did mess up that spaceship. Like that with the renovations, it was not good. They've made it worse.
Yeah.
So you can't even guarantee the fact that you're moving to a new state and it could be a good stadium.
Right.
Do I completely agree with it? No, not really. I think that we probably have a better opportunity this time. But what are your thoughts on that? I feel like it's a little bit overblown, but what are your thoughts on the fact that moving to Indiana would, in a sense, discredit and kind of tarnish the brand or the aura, if you want to call it, of the Chicago Bears?
Yeah, I think in the moment, if let's just say the Bears win a Super Bowl, and we're in Indiana, because I don't think that let's say tonight they agree on a bill. We're completely moving to Indiana. Boom, let's start the project. I don't think this stadium will be ready even probably until the year like 2030. I don't know. These things take a
Yeah,
long ass time. So, we're talking about a long time. We don't know what's gonna happen during that time. But let's say they're in Indiana, you know, and they win a ring. I think in the moment nobody's gonna really care. But it's just sort of like when you kind of think about it, it's like that kind of stings. And I think it'll sting especially more. And this is kind of what I was thinking about too while you were talking about it, which is kind of interesting. I think there's going to be sort of added pressure for the Bears to win now if this is actually the case. If let's just say, hey, you've got, we're moving to Indiana. Y'all got about, 3-4 years until this happens, and then we're gone. This might push the team to try to win a ring one last time before they leave. And I think if they do that, I think that would make it much more bearable because it's like, yeah, you have your ring from 85, but that was in the old stadium. Now you've got this stadium, which you haven't technically won a ring with. Yeah, obviously it's, Soldier Field. I get it. But like you said, we made renovations to it. So now it's just kind of like, okay, let's make your last stand here. Go ahead and at least go out with a bang. If you're gonna break the city of Chicago's hearts like this, like, let there be a legacy to be left behind. If Caleb and Ben can win us a ring, sometime within the next 3 seasons, it might not feel so bad. Then you win again, let's say in the year I don't know, 2033 or something like that in a new stadium, then it feels a little better because you at least won before. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. I mean, in a sense, obviously, whether they're in Indiana, whether they're in Chicago, whether they're in Naperville, Arlington Heights, we're gonna want our team to win a Super Bowl regardless. We're not gonna be like, oh, I don't really care if we win or not. Like, no, we're still gonna be diehard Bears fans forever till the day I die, for better or for worse. But it's gonna have a little bit of that, like, because I think about, like, man, when we won in 2016, the Cubs winning their World Series, I think about that image of the fans being outside Wrigley Stadium, and the crowd was going crazy, and it just looked like the craziest thing ever. Like the city of Chicago damn near burned down that day. You
Mm-hmm.
won't have that scene. You'll have it in Indiana. You'll have it by Wolf Lake, which is so weird. But downtown Chicago, you're just gonna have people in their apartments and in local sports bars, maybe Wrigleyville too. And that's gonna look cool for a little bit. But man, like, wouldn't it be cool to have that in Chicago? Wouldn't it be
Yeah.
cool to have that in Arlington Heights, a Bears town, just blow up as we're winning ourselves a Super Bowl? Like, that'd be great. And seeing that in Indiana just kind of takes away from, like, the proverbial aura, I guess, if you want to call it. And it's just, it's obviously not something that the Bears are going to, really care about, like, in that sense. Like, they don't give a shit about aura, but you know, it's just like I said, it's the culture of it. You're
Yeah.
moving the most historic franchise in NFL history, one of the founding fathers of the NFL. You know, and also, if I want to tie one more thing into it, the Packers, they're not going to be coming to Chicago anymore. Like, what about these, divisional games? They're going to be going to Indiana. They can beat us in their hometown, but we can never beat them in our hometown because we're not even in our hometown. Like,
Mm.
we're like, I'm obviously, we're going to still want to beat the Packers. I'm not taking anything away from that. But I can just already hear Packers fans saying, you can't even beat us in your hometown. You have to do it in Indiana. Like, that sucks for you. And, the next best thing to do then would just be to beat them in Green Bay, which I guess would feel sweet too. But you don't get the crowd pop that you hear in Chicago. So I don't know, man. There's just, I know my arguments are more so, and pretty much everyone's argument is more so of just like the atmosphere, the culture, and everything. Because I know for the Chicago Bears, I completely get why, from a financial and business standpoint, why they would move to Indiana. And like I said, if there was no culture here, if no one gave a shit about the Bears, if it was just, a level playing field, absolutely, I'd be like, yeah, Indiana's the easy choice here. Don't even give, Pritzker and the rest of the U.S. the Illinois government, the time of day. They don't seem to be respecting you. So just go ahead and move to Indiana and just stick it to them. But obviously, it's not that simple. So I don't know. It's not going to lose aura in the sense of, us winning, or like if we won a ring or we won anything meaningful. Like, it not too much to the point where it's just going to be, diluted to nothing. But there is going to be sort of that bittersweetness to it if it happens there.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, you make an interesting point. I never really thought about it from a perspective. I mean, because you always think of it from like a like home field and like your entire stadium and not the city in the grand scheme of things, so that's an interesting thing piece. I think that that's like an added element to the whole like thing where fans are trying to wrap their head around the fact that is this really a home for the Chicago Bears? I do think that yeah, I 100% agree with you when it comes to, like, say we do win a Super Bowl, are they going to come to Chicago rather than being the area where the stadium is? Like, there's some logistics right there too. Like, if the 49ers ever won a Super Bowl in recency, I'm not talking about, they won 4, but that was in like the time when the Bears won a Super Bowl. But if the 49ers won a Super Bowl, would they go to San Francisco or would they go around Santa Clara? Like, I think they would probably go to San Francisco. So, like, then why not you know, just do it and like have it within the locality of Illinois? I don't know. It could be. It's like that's just my thought process. It could be like a boneheaded take, to be honest. But like, I
No, I
just
get it.
think, that from that perspective, it alone should prioritize Chicago or in the Chicagoland area. That's within the state of Illinois. But it's just really just going to depend on how well the negotiations can turn around, because that's really all we can really hope for. Because Pritzker, in an interview, mentioned he was very annoyed too. I really want to bring that up, but I don't have audio. But I don't have audio to show this either. I should have prepared more for that. But if you search up, I think he did an interview with WGN. I could check my likes and all that stuff. But he essentially said that Kevin Warren just was a no show. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier. Yep, I know what you're
Yeah,
talking about.
Brendan Moore to a tweet
Yeah,
said that Governor Pritzker adds that Kevin Warren chose not to be in that meeting yesterday, to which the team state officials mostly agreed on the bill. The Bears and the government said to, the Bears, the governor said, told his staff today that their statement was not some confirmation that they're moving to Indiana. So it's a little bit of a two-sided post, where you have the Bears not being a no-show to this important meeting today, but it's
yeah,
also not closing the idea that Arlington Heights is going to be the move as well. It's just that now that the momentum shifted to Indiana, now there's the focus there. I remember earlier, in a couple of weeks ago, I'm not sure if it was a couple of weeks, no, it was like last week, where Iowa stepped in as a potential thing, and everyone's just like, okay, all right, that seems way less likely than Indiana. Like, it's like now it's like kind of like a meme now at this point, where it's like, is this leverage or is this a meme at this point? So
yeah,
like, I just feel like if they continue to kind of play around with this thing, specifically the Chicago government, like Illinois government, like, I think that this can very well turn into them losing the Chicago Bears, and that's not going to be any good for both Chicago, like the fans as well, and for Pritzker's reelection campaign, or even potential presidential campaign down the line. So, like, I feel like it is in Pritzker's interest to find a way to come to a solution, but it doesn't also help that Kevin Warren is no showing to these meetings. But I just wanted to ask you in your opinion on that. I think you kind of touched upon it too.
yeah.
But do you think that Kevin Warren deserves a lot of blame when it comes to how he's handled, or was his hands tied behind his back? How much blame, in terms of a scale 0 to 100, you would give him?
It's kind of interesting because I guess we don't have the full story because, like you said, with that in that clip, that he was essentially a no show. So we have no idea like how close he was to like we have no idea essentially like how close we were to I guess a new bill that could have maybe what they just passed in Indiana could have happened today was Chicago Bears had that meeting actually gone through. We have no clue. It's really just it's anyone's guess. Um, but I think that yeah, people are blaming the Illinois government, and I'm fully with them. But at the end of the day, it takes two to tango with this. Just like we talk about any NFL trades, anything. It takes two to tango, and the thing is like Kevin Warren could easily just be like, no, we're not going to move to Indiana. Like, could there be benefits technically, like in a financial or a business standpoint? Could there be a benefit to moving to Wisconsin? Sure. I don't know where the contracts lie with that, or the legalities or whatever. But damn well that they would never move to Wisconsin where the freaking Packers are. So it's just like he could put his foot down and be like, no, like we're gonna stay here in Illinois, whether it's Naperville, whether it's Arlington Heights, whether it's freaking Decatur, if you want to go back to your original hometown, like
The Decatur.
yeah, go back to being in Decatur. I would take that over to Indiana.
Wait,
I'm
was
not
it
even kidding you.
The
Staley's.
Decatur Staleys? Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Where Papa
Oh
Bear,
man,
formed the Bears.
blast from
So
the
it's
past.
just like that's what I'm saying. Like I would like I would rather that. Like wouldn't be the first on my list, but I'd rather that than Indiana. It's not. I don't care how close we are to the border of Indiana. I don't care if it's one step away. I don't want to be in that state. And it's nothing to do with Indiana itself. Even if I know people talk about Gary, Indiana being, a shithole. And I of course I agree. I don't care if it was New York City over there. I don't want to be in another state. That's the whole point. I don't want to lose this culture. So I do place a bit of blame on Kevin Warren. And like I said, I'll bring up an example. You know how like the whole Max Crosby situation,
Yeah.
there's a lot of trade rumors with him and everything. And maybe we could talk about that at some point here. But one of the big things that I've heard some Raiders fans saying is, we don't know for sure if they actually are going to trade him. But the one thing Max Crosby isn't doing right now is straight up just saying, I don't want to be traded. I want to stay and retire a Raider. He's yet to do that as of recent, but amidst these rumors. We see players say that all the time, that they want to stay with the team that they're currently on. And yeah, it's not breaking news or anything, but when it comes to these situations like where he's at right now, yeah, it might be helpful to, if there was no truth to it at all, to just, pop the balloon with it right away and just be like, nope, don't even worry about that, guys. I'm a Raider. I don't care about our record. He hasn't said it. And so because of that, there's sort of like that possibility of that actually coming to fruition. And now you look at the Bears, it's like, okay, if Indiana wasn't really an idea, it's Kevin Warren has yet to, make that very clear. And, part of me wants to, like I said, maybe it's the whole negotiation tactic. And while you were talking, it was actually interesting too. And this is kind of where I'm willing to give Warren just a tiny bit of grace here. I wonder if maybe this bill or this very tactic of going to, canceling a meeting, going to Indiana, getting that bill done is sort of to just create competition. Because as much as, we want the Bears to stay in Chicago, who else wants the Bears to be in their state? Indiana. Like a lot of revenue. Like you're taking a Bears town and placing them in your state. Like, I can't even think of an example that would be like I don't know. That's like putting a McDonald's or a Starbucks like in like a third world country or whatever, and saying, hey, like we got like this could bring a lot of revenue. I don't know. Like I'm trying to think of an example, but like you're bringing. My point is that you're bringing a highly revenue team. It's not like the Jets. It's not like the Houston Texans or the Tennessee Titans. Like you're bringing the Chicago Bears to the state of Indiana. Do you know how much money we're going to make them if this happens? They want us here. They want us over there. They want us across that lake, across Wolf Lake, wherever it is. So maybe what Kevin Warren is doing and what I can maybe see doing, if I want to trick myself into having some sort of false hope here, is maybe he's just creating sort of like that tension, that competition, and telling the Illinois government like, hey, these people want me. It's like, it'd be like if a girlfriend was like, hey, like there's other guys that want me, like you better start treating me right. It's like, I guess that could be like the better example if I'm trying to think of something here. But yeah, my point is that maybe he's just trying to create some sort of urgency here. I hope this is not, I guess I'm kind of, grateful that I forgot who you said had said that this wasn't a declaration of yes, for sure, we're moving to Indiana. This is just, whatever. Like we're not, this is not an official, like, oh, we're moving to Indiana.
I think
sure.
Adam Hogue reported this. Not 100% sure, but yeah.
So it's like I don't know. It's sort of just like hope right now. We're just kind of hanging on. Yeah, it's copium. It's just at the end of the day, it's anyone's guess. If Warren really allows this to happen, and I get that he can't just completely bend to the will of the Illinois government, but you were brought here to bring Chicago a new stadium. Had we had basically this, if you can go back in time right now, right before Kevin Warren was hired and told Chicago, hey, we're about to hire this guy named Kevin Warren to be president. He's going to build us a new stadium, but it's going to be in Indiana. Would you want him in office or in, the Bears organization? A lot of Chicago fans would say absolutely not. Like, give me another guy that is priority number one, stay in Illinois, no matter where it's at. So that's kind of where I hope that Kevin Warren isn't leaning too much into the money of this and just, like asking for too much, because I will say, and I forgot to bring this up, one of the things that people are very quick to forget is the Bears wanted taxpayers to pay for the
Hmm.
building of the new stadium. You know, with how high taxes are already in Chicago, why are you asking us to pay more? Like,
And on
I'm
top of that,
sorry,
they're
you. Yeah, go ahead.
sorry. Yeah, I was just saying. Just sorry to interrupt, but they
No,
also
you're good.
even increased the ticket prices again by
Yeah,
13%.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. My point exactly. You're charging more for us. Like why? Like, I get we're building a new stadium, and yeah, obviously, like, I guess I'll pay a little bit more taxes if it means we have to stay here and instead of going to Indiana. But even then, it's like you are a multi-billion-dollar organization in a Bears town. You're not some new name on the block. Like the Houston Texans. You're not like some small market team. You know, like you're not one of those. You are a historic, very valuable franchise. You mean to tell me you need all of our help to help you build the stadium because you don't want to pay for it yourself? Like, I get that you don't own Soldier Field as of right now, but come on, fork over the money, dude. Like, come on. Like, I get that Indiana's offering something sweet, but stop being cheap. Like, build the damn stadium, keep us in Illinois. It shouldn't be that hard to do. I don't know why no one else has this issue. I guess other than like we said, Santa Clara and the 49ers, but at least with them, they're in the state. Like I said, if I had to choose between Hammond, Indiana, and Decatur, Illinois, I'm choosing Decatur, Illinois because they're at least in the freaking state. You know, yeah, they may not be the San Francisco 49ers, being in Santa Clara, but they're still, no one really cares to even think about that. I'm pretty sure even like the average NFL fan that's not a 49ers fan can't really tell you where their stadium is located. They just think San Francisco. And for the Bears, I just want that to be the case where it's just like, I don't care whether we're in Arlington Heights. I don't care if we're in Naperville, Decatur, freaking Springfield, for all I care. Stay in
yeah,
the state. Stay in the state. Priority number one. Kevin Warren, make that happen.
yeah. I mean, and also another thing you had to consider is the. I remember this as well, like the debt as well. That for the early renovations of that spaceship. I mean, that's also a thing to consider too, and that's kind of also why the Bears, trying to use that as like, I mean, we have to pay that. They're not obligated to pay it,
Yeah.
but in order for them to stay in the state of Illinois, I feel like they have to. Um, that's another thing too, and I'm just like, oh my god. Of
I
course,
don't
it's
know. It's just like why, but like why would you make them do that? Like, once again, I feel like there are some things that they need to just be willing to give up in order to make the bigger thing happen. Once again, I like you can't tell me that Pritzker and the rest of the Illinois government is really sitting there and saying like, I'd much rather us lose the entire Chicago Bears organization to another state next to us than to have to help pay for this new stadium. Like, that
yeah,
makes, like, if that's really the mindset that we're in, then I don't know what to think of this government. Like I don't want to get political or anything here, but it's just like, what are you doing for real?
yeah,
Like, come on, throw us a bone. Come on, like, we got to find something. And once again, this could all just be competition, smoke and mirrors to scare Pritzker and everything. And maybe he himself knows that, but even then, he still got to bend to the will of supply and demand or whatever, into negotiations and stuff. I hope it's a very scary thing to know because it used to just be talk before. It used to just be offers. It used to just be put, actual sort of,
yeah,
just hypotheticals and theoreticals and stuff like that. But now we're actually putting pen to paper, like actual pen to paper on what could actually be the loss of Chicago Bears.
yeah, exactly. And that's what it was is kind of like a little bit of a tricky situation in general, and I oh man, I just want this to be over. I'm so done like talking about this. Like I
No, me
feel like
too.
we've had the same thought process over the course every at least like in the off season it had to be like a good part of it like at least every off season and now like even after that's the crazy part. The Bears are seen around the league as a great franchise now with the addition to Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. And now this whole thing is like, all right, that's enough of Chicago. Let's move on to Indiana. Like,
Yeah.
are we actually serious? Like,
Like, now, of course, the what
yeah,
we finally became good, and this is what you're gonna. This is how we get like.
like if and this may be a hot take too. Like, say for an example, we decided to move like to the same Hammond, Indiana, like during the Justin Fields era. Like, like it wasn't great. Not, like we were like 33 and 14 and all that stuff. Like it would suck. But I think like yeah, fans would probably be turned off from the team, and it's like it's whatever. But then if we become good in a different stadium, in a new stadium, and all that, that's different. You sucked a little bit, and then but you're good now in Chicago. So like there's no curse associated with that
True,
yet.
true. That is
So
very
like,
true.
but now you're taking that and doing the opposite. You're going back to that, and if you suck, it's gonna be look even worse
Oh,
for you
that's
guys.
gonna be an ultimate curse.
Yeah, like that's the worst case scenario. Like that's just the thing. Like I just think that I really hope that the Arlington Heights thing. It just sucks that the relative like cheapness of our front office, not front office, but more so our ownership group. Um, it does like rear its ugly head at times. I mean, obviously, Kevin Warren kind of nudged George McCaskey in the right direction by a forcing them to fire Matt Eberflus and hire Ben Johnson the following season. Like that was great. And the thing is, the McCaskies had to fork over a large sum for Ben Johnson's contract, so they have the ability to fork over money. It's just that they somehow choose not to at the worst possible times. Like there's times to be cheap, and there's times to be like you have to spend money in order to make money. So yeah, it's another thing where it's like I wonder in the what is this going to happen in like the next couple of weeks now, or is it like are we coming to a close on this deal? Because I don't know how far are we, like third and goal, or like first and goal, like, or inches in goal or something like that. How close is this really? Like that's the thing that we as fans can only like theorize on, like what exactly how close it, because we have no information on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, other than that, let's talk about some good news. Like let's transition to some positive stuff. But before we get into that, we are at the above the halfway point of the podcast episode. If you guys are watching so far, thank you guys again so much for watching. Feel free to subscribe to both of our channels. Its links are in the description down below, and hit that like button as well. Helps with the algorithm. Helps get this podcast out to the public and for everyone to see. But yeah, let's talk about some things, and I kind of want your opinion on it. And we kind of touched upon it, but Trey Hendrickson or Max Crosby? What do you what side of the dice are you on right now? Or is there a third option that has been kind of floating around in your mind?
Yeah, I'll start off with these two guys, and I actually do have a third option that I think we could sort of entertain here.
Okay.
That I don't think is really too likely, but I guess anything is likely at the NFL. We've learned that, being NFL fans. Um, if I obviously we have to choose straight up, Max Crosby is better than Trey Hendrickson at this age. Like it's not really like that's pretty much like a foregone conclusion. Whether you want to argue that Hendrickson is the better pure pass rusher, in the
Mm-hmm.
league, because he did it. He was coming off of 2 straight seasons of 17 and a half sacks. I don't
Oh
remember
yeah.
the last time a player even did that. Um, but Max Crosby is like that. He's that entire defense. Let's be completely honest. And one of the driving points to why I even say that is if you look at all the games that we played this season, we played against some pretty good pass rushers. We played against obviously Max Crosby. We played against Miles Garrett. We played against TJ Watt. We played against Micah Parsons. We played against pretty much all the top guys. Jalen Carter, like obviously the D tackle. But my point exactly is that like we played them against some pretty good defensive lineman players, and I
Mm-hmm.
feel that throughout all those players, the one player that really like wrecked our entire game plan, and I get it was early on in the season while we're still developing, but the one player that really took over a game that single-handedly almost beat us was Max Crosby. That Raiders game was ridiculous. I was like, how is this man all over the field? Like
Mm-hmm.
that like the interception we saw. I don't know if you watched the podcast with him and Max Crosby, but
Yeah.
he was talking about that. Like, how is it that he ends up on one side of the field or on the line, ends up over the center and bats the
Yep.
ball up and picks it off? He did that like 3 times that game. He was in the backfield every other play. And then on top of that, too, what I really love about Max Crosby is that I feel like most defensive linemen, I feel like in this league, and this can probably be the case with Hendrickson, where you have sort of like you have a weakness in pass rush or you have a weakness in the run game.
Hmm.
Like it's like you're never really good at like elite at both. But I think Max Crosby is elite at both. Like his play recognition, his ability to shut off blocks, shut off linemen is just it's top tier, man. And obviously, when it comes to Max Crosby and the Trey Hendrickson debate, we're talking about a trade versus a free agency acquisition. Now, keep in mind, it's also assuming that the Bengals don't franchise tag the man and hold him hostage for another, for a second year. And I wouldn't put it past that front office to
Yeah.
do that because let's be honest, it's the worst front office in the NFL, in my opinion. That whole Shamar Stewart situation too was wild too. That was almost disastrous for them.
And it
But
still
assuming
is
that he does,
disastrous.
yeah, it
Yeah.
still is. Yeah, honestly.
Yeah. He
But
didn't even do that good this year. Like, what
yeah,
the
he
hell?
did. I honestly, I called it, to be honest. I wasn't a big fan, but I digress. Let's just say, Hendrickson is available. I wouldn't mind signing him at all. The only thing is, and I don't know if the Athletic is like, I don't know if they just overprice everybody because I think it was Nick Wallen on Twitter. He posted a list of players per the Athletic that were like they gave their potential pricing on or contractors for that these players would earn, and they were ridiculous, man. Like a Hendrickson, 3-year, 99 million. Are you
Yep.
kidding me? At
That's
the
a
age of
Baker Mayfield
31?
contract. Yeah.
Yeah. What? Why are we paying a 31-year-old edge rusher coming off a season-ending injury quarterback money? Like, are you kidding me? Like, yeah, that would have been a great contract in 2023. Not right now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not paying that money. I saw another one that was 1 year, 25 million. I said, okay, that's better. A 1-year deal is not too bad. I saw another deal that was like 2 years, 25. I don't mind that at all either. Just really depends on, you know, how the Bears feel about his injury history, and I hope that maybe with Montez Sweat being on the outside, that kind of takes some of the pressure off Hendrickson having to get 17 and a half sacks to make his contract worth it, which I don't think he really does have to if we sign him to a 2-year, 25 million contract. But then you have Max Crosby, right? Who reports have been all over the place. I think the latest report was that they were looking for 2 firsts and a premier player. And I said, absolutely not. They're trying to get a Micah Parsons level trade out of a player that would be 3 years older than when Micah Parsons was traded, a player that is arguably quote unquote worse than Micah Parsons, It's and
Yeah.
even though they're sort of on that same tier, but even if they are equal, it's just the age and coming off of surgery, by the way, automatically makes you less valuable than the other player. So it's like that's the starting price, it's obviously going to be brought down. Now, as much, and it's gonna be another conversation for another time, but as much as I, would love for DJ Moore to stay here, I would not mind at all throwing him in a first round pick, next year's second, and DJ Moore. I'll do that. You're getting rid of the contract. It makes all the sense in the world to give Fernando Mendoza another option outside of Brock Bowers. It makes sense for us to revamp our defensive line. And even if you do want to go ahead and move off of Montez Sweat, which is what I've been seeing some people saying we should do, ideally I would want to keep both. But if you do choose to do that, it's not like the Raiders where you just have absolutely nobody there other than Max Crosby. You do have a couple guys out there, Austin Booker or Javon Dexter. Maybe Dale comes back and is a little bit healthier and a little bit better. You got some people there to be able to at least pick up some of the attention that or take advantage of some of the attention that is being given all towards Max Crosby. But if I had to pick here, man, I think I'm swinging for the fences for Max Crosby. I know that was a lot that I said there, so I'll try to keep this short. But Max Crosby, I think, is the move that sets you over the top. Trey Hendrickson could, but if he doesn't return back to form, all of a sudden that contract isn't worth it. Max Crosby, I know, didn't have the greatest of seasons, but his play is a lot more than just what you see in the stat sheet.
Right.
We saw that game. We all saw that game. Mind you, this wasn't the 2023 Bears offensive line or anything like that. This is a offensive line that ranked top of the league this year, and Max Crosby went through it like Swiss cheese. It was like we weren't even there. And I know we were starting Trapillo and Benedict, I believe, because I think Darnell Wright missed that game. So obviously that does have something to do with it, but mind you, he was all over the defensive line. So even Jonah Jackson and Tooney were getting their work in too with having to deal with a monster like him. So I think within Dennis Allen's system too, he's the right scheme fit, and also just for that conversation of putting us over the top. I think you have to make big swings in this league. Like I've been putting this tweet out a lot recently, but 3 of the past 4 Super Bowl winners have had to trade a first round pick at some point to get the player that helped them win the Super Bowl. So we'll start
Mhm.
off, or at least some sort of risk involved. So Seattle, obviously, they took a risk on Sam Darnold, right? Won him a ring. You go to the Eagles, right? What did they do? They traded a first round pick for AJ Brown. What else did they do? They didn't trade. They signed Saquon Barkley to a large contract during a time that everyone said that was a bad idea. You don't pay running backs. You just draft them and move on because the last 15 Super Bowl winners didn't have a big contract, whatever. And look at they end up winning the Super Bowl and absolutely dominating that year. The
Right.
Chiefs, how did they get Patrick Mahomes? They traded up from pick 27 to pick 10, gave up a first round pick for a quarterback that a lot of scouts viewed as a developmental, a project quarterback. It's not like they traded. This wasn't like the 49ers trading up from pick 12 to 3 that one year to select Trey Lance, a top prospect.
Oh.
I know that turned out to be terrible, but at least you're swinging big in the sense of like that's a very highly touted prospect. Mahomes, a lot of people, for some reason forget he wasn't that. Nobody really had him at the top, even above Trubisky. If I'm gonna be honest with you, so he was a developmental pick. There's a reason why he fell almost out of the top 10. If it wasn't for the Bills trading out of that, he would have fell out of the top 10. So that
Yeah.
goes to show you what the rest of the league thought about him. Except the Chiefs, they went ahead and took that swing. So like I said, I think about all those teams that made big swings. The last point, the Rams. How many
Mm.
years of first round picks did they give up since they drafted Jared Goff? I'll tell you how many. Well, at least I don't remember the exact number of how many total, but I'll tell you that 4 of them were given up for Matthew Stafford and Jalen Ramsey. All
Oh
right.
yeah.
They won a ring. All right. And I'm sure they're very happy about that. And they've stayed competitive every year since then, aside from I believe it was 22 or 23. They had that
22.
one down. Yeah,
Yeah.
22. They had that one down year. But outside of that, they've been Super Bowl contenders every year. And they just won an MVP with this quarterback right here. So
Mhm.
my point is to sort of tie it all into one little bone out here. And I'll talk about, once I get your thoughts, I'll talk about my third option. But my point is swing big. Let's stop playing. I know Ryan Poles isn't really known for making the big move, other than besides trading away a pick, which was the first overall pick, which is not really like the big swing and sort of like a risk. It's sort of like everybody could tell you needed to trade that pick. There was no value in selecting whoever you were going to select that pick number 1 that year, whether it was Marvin Harrison Jr. or whoever we were going to do. Like you needed to trade that pick to somebody. And I think
Right.
Poles needs to finally make that big acquisition, that big swing. And that pick could be Max Crosby. That swing, could be Max Crosby. So I really think that would propel us to being a Super Bowl contender. That move should be done.
Yeah. I think my thought process was, before the contracts and everything kind of like were kind of shown, I was under the camp of Trey Hendrickson. We signed him to that deal. Um, and then draft or keep our first round pick and draft an edge rusher like a McDonald or I'm still looking into the draft, especially with this late. I'm not used to it, so
Yeah.
I have to actually do research now, which is actually kind of crazy. But um, get like a developmental piece to go under the veteran edge rusher. And you also have Montez Sweat on the other side to help pick up the slack if needed. Because at this point, we need 2 star-studded edge rushers. And if you just look at the side-by-side comparison, I saw somewhere where I think it was Nick Whalen that put the side-by-side of Max Crosby and Montez Sweat's this past season, and they had shockingly identical seasons. And what's funny is that uh, Montez Sweat caused for more forced fumbles, if I remember correctly, and that was really the only difference. And Max Crosby also had an interception. So it's, I feel like the Montez Sweat, like, like contract at the time, and especially after last year, it felt like okay, we kind of overpaid for this dude. He's all right. He's not great, but he's been a silent giant when it comes to like production. And I think without him, our D line would be a lot worse.
Yeah.
Like significant drop off when it comes to that. But adding a Trey Hendrickson while also maintaining your draft capital and keeping your draft capital and kind of building through the trenches again in the draft, that could be another option. And I think that's the more safe and sound option. But I do understand the reasoning behind going for a Max Crosby, but I just think that the price point is too much. Two first round picks, that kind of, I think that he's worth it, but it's like at the same time, if you're talking from a cap and a draft capital standpoint, that's a little too risky and too
Yeah.
expensive for my book. Um, and you're essentially giving a trade for an older Micah Parsons in a sense. Like that the Micah Parsons only went for two first round picks, and he is what 5 years or 4 years younger than Max Crosby is. Like the only player I would give two first round picks is, and they're older, is Miles Garrett. That's the only one I would ever give two first round picks because this dude is like LeBron James. He literally gets better with age. Like there's no stop because how much of he invests in keeping his body healthy and utmost shape, and he will definitely be a game wrecker on this squad. I have no doubt about it. Alongside Montez Sweat and Miles Garrett, two first round picks. Sure, take it,
Yeah.
Cleveland. You need to fix your team really badly anyway. So, like, I mean, I don't know if you're going to do anything with those picks, but I mean, actually,
Right.
last draft they actually, to be
Yeah,
fair,
they did
last draft
good.
they did pretty good. Yeah, so actually, I can't really say that, but I'm just saying, like, they could use it. And the thing is, Miles Garrett in his interview or his pod, I guess, whatever he did, roasting the shit out of Micah Parsons. Love that.
Yep. Yep.
Love that.
Nice man.
Dude, it makes me want him more, dude. Dude, every
Yep.
single time I see Miles Garrett, I just want him to be a Bear so bad.
I know.
Like,
Yep.
dude, yeah, dude, and the comments are so funny on those as well. It's
I
like
know.
it always
Yeah.
brings it back to Mason Rudolph somehow. It's like this dude can't. It's not exactly whatever. But I'm just saying, like, I really. That's the only player I would give up two first round picks, like two, and DJ Moore.
Yep.
While I do like Max Crosby, I just think his value uh, compared to Miles Garrett is not equal, and I just don't think that that's the thing. And I think that's the Raiders really wanted to find a way to keep him, and I think that's kind of like the thing to go to. I don't know. It's gonna be weird for them specifically, but I do think that another thing as well is when it comes to Miles Garrett saying like, "Oh, I want to win Super Bowl here. I want to do this and that." Like you can read between the lines of what he's trying to say. Like in a sense, it's like,
Yeah.
"Are you serious? Like you think you're gonna win a Super Bowl right now?" Listen, weirder stuff has happened, and I'm not ever counting out anyone, but if you look at realistically, the team that you have, the roster that you have, Shadur Sanders, like that's and compared to the rest of the NFC and the AFC, things would have to go insanely your way
Right.
for the Browns to make a Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl. Like
Right.
generational levels of divine intervention have to happen for that to happen.
Yeah.
So like things
Literally.
like that, yeah, things like that, and how players come out and say like this kind of like these kind of things kind of put into perspective of like you have to essentially read between the lines and kind of like read like and kind of understand like what they're trying to point out and whether it's a message to their front office as well. And I think that's kind of what that PR stunt or not PR stunt but the podcast with Caleb Williams be like that being what is that the first episode that they recorded together in a while like
Yeah. I think ever. Yeah.
yeah, so like this is the first like off season guest that he's had.
Right.
That says a lot about it. And I just think that, there is some where there's smoke, there's fire. And I think that there is some kind of validity to potentially Poles and Ben Johnson being given the green light to go for a trade. And if it happens, I'll be for it. Listen, I trust Ben Johnson. I trust his his judgment. Obviously, sometimes not during on fourth down, but that's here nor there. But I just think that his judgment of how he's been able to build a roster after this past offseason, I'm really convinced about that. Aside from a Dio Dangbo contract, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. I mean, personally, Trey Hendrickson seems like the more team friendly deal, but I just think that
It
there's
depends too of what he's asking. Like Trey
wait, sorry,
Hendrickson,
what was that?
it depends on what he's asking. Trey Hendrickson,
Oh,
dude, if he asks
yeah,
for like 30, if he's really asking for 3 years, 99 million, yeah, you can kick rocks, buddy.
yeah,
Absolutely
literally.
not.
Yeah, it's like he got a if I remember correctly, dude got a contract essentially a bonus to stay for the on the Bengals for 1 year. It was like 1 year, $30 million deal.
Yeah.
Just to be like, hey, just stay on it, and it's like a soft franchise tag in a sense.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
No.
but dude didn't even play, and it's like, bro, don't just you have enough money. Just I know it's everyone's trying to get their guarantees, but if you want to win a championship, you're not doing it with the Bengals, dude.
Right.
And yeah, with Zach Taylor being hired or kept on while the entire AFC North uh coaching staff changes, like Harbaugh gone, Tomlin gone, Kevin Stefanski gone.
Yeah.
Pack it up, dude.
Yeah.
It's insane. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna be interesting. But yeah, let's actually close out this. Oh wait, sorry. Did you have one more thing to say? Like you said, you
Oh
had
yeah.
another option.
Yeah. I'll keep it short too. I was gonna say actually, it's funny you brought up Miles Garrett because that was my actual my
Oh,
next pick, and it's I'll take it a step further and call me crazy. I'll explain why I even say this. I'd give up 3 first-round picks for him. Here's my reasoning why this is. You got to keep in mind. Remember, the first round picks that we are going to be getting. Let's say it's 3 first-round picks. Now, I'm not saying the Bears should do this. Obviously, like that would be like a last case scenario, like whatever, right? But let's just say they do that. Those picks, most likely, picks 28 to 32 in the first round. You're not getting any
yeah,
blue chip talent there. The drop off from most in any given draft after pick 14 is essentially like there's it's super huge. Like there's
huge.
no
Yeah.
like you're getting whatever you're getting at pick 28 might as well be a second round pick. Now I'm not saying that
Mhm.
it's completely worthless, but my thing is that when you look at the Chicago Bears, we are a star pass rusher away from being a Super Bowl winning team. You put Miles Garrett on his team, you're a favorite. At the end of the day, you're a
Mhm.
favorite. Doesn't matter who you have really in the secondary. I mean, obviously you can't have just like scrubs out there, but you've got a great coach, you've got a great quarterback, you've got a great O-line. Those are the 3 main things that we were missing back in 2018. You put Ben Johnson, that offensive line, and Caleb Williams on that 2018 defense, we win a ring that year.
Yep.
Hands
Easily.
down, easily. And we probably become a dynasty. Gonna be honest with you, because you keep Khalil Mack, and we saw how productive he's been with the Chargers. So he would have been productive in Chicago as well. Could have been a literal dynasty, right? If you would
Right.
it wasn't the trade wasn't bad, which is why to this day I never fault Ryan Pace for making that trade. I never do. Like I get it. You want to make a big swing. That's the big swing I was talking about. You just didn't
Right.
have the main pieces there, and yet you still won 12 games. Mind you, we have Ben Johnson, we have Dennis Allen, we have Caleb Williams, we had that great offensive line, and we won 11 games. Like, dude, you won 12 games in a 16 game season with Trubisky and Matt Nagy. Like, yeah, that trade worked out, pretty decently, all things considered. It was never going to win you a ring in hindsight, but you were there. You had that right mindset. And that's why I want Poles to do that. So going back onto the whole, Myles Garrett thing, I really do think that whatever you trade from is worth it because, and the other point I was going to add too, is Myles Garrett is going to be good for a long time. Their age doesn't hit everybody the same. People think that like a human being or that NFL players in general, like everybody hits this like proverbial wall at age 30, like it's some like magical force that can't be stopped. You look at Travis Kelce and Rob Gronkowski, they're the same age. I think they're only a few months apart. But who
Yeah.
looked more old at the age of 30? Gronkowski looked like he was going to freaking, like, all his limbs were going to fall off like a smoked brisket. Travis Kelce looked like he was a 26-year-old tight end. He looked like Colston Loveland, like right now, at the age of 30. Like
Mm.
he was like they were completely different. It's because they're a different play style. Gronkowski was a bruiser, but Myles Garrett's going to be good for, I would say, another 4 to 5 years before we truly see some bad drop off. And in
Mm-hmm.
that time, by the time you see that drop off, you have your first round pick back. Like
Right.
seriously, like you'll be fine. You are going to be contenders for 3 years unless some crazy stuff happens where there's some crazy fall off, something that is unforeseen, which at that point it's like you can't really fall. Like I'm hearing a lot of people talk, well, the Parsons trade wasn't that great this year because Micah Parsons got hurt. No one would have saw that coming.
Yeah. No one
And
saw
who's
that.
to say next year he won't come back and win him a ring? Because
Mm.
that's all it takes is them coming back and they're back to being a top 5 defense. Like, let's be honest, this year's competition going into the Super Bowl wasn't that great. And as much as I hate the Packers, had they stayed healthy with Tucker Kraft and Micah Parsons, there's a real world that they could have won a Super Bowl this year.
They
That's the
could have.
scary part.
Yeah.
If we got that close to beating the Rams and we got that close to going to the NFC Championship, I mean, the Packers have this year had about just as good of an offense with a much better defense. It is not out of the realm of possibility that they could have won a ring this year had they not caught the injury bug. And
Right.
it's not out of the conversation that they could just run it back next year. So don't tell me that the Parsons trade all of a sudden just fell off because of one bad injury. Like,
Exactly.
and it's like you can't even foresee that. It's not like it's not like a guy who's just always gotten injured all the time. This was just a freak accident, and just a bad luck to that franchise. That's not going to stop me from trading for a Max Crosby or Myles Garrett. I'm gonna take that because I know, and also the one difference too that the difference maker here, and I'll make this last point here. Max Crosby, Trey Hendrickson, and Myles Garrett, they all have one thing in common. They were all really good on bad teams, and at
Mm.
some point you have to recognize, like, in their position, like, I'm doing everything I can. I'm putting up numbers. Myles Garrett just broke the damn sack record, and
Yeah.
that team won 5 games. Are you kidding me?
Anyone defensive player of the year again?
Anyone defensive player of the year, dude. Like, at the age of 30, by the way, this wasn't at 26 or 25, at 30. You put, dude, the incentive for someone like Max Crosby and Myles Garrett or any of these guys to come to Chicago, knowing that they are the top of at their position, top of the league, to a team that desperately needs their services at that specific position, knowing that they are fine pretty much everywhere else on the roster, and they even got the right coach for once. They got the right off quarterback for once in this city, and now you just need that one last final infinity stone to push you over the top. Do you tell me they're not thinking themselves every once in a while, like, damn, I could win that team a ring? Like,
Mm.
like going to sleep at night, they're like, even if they don't want to come to Chicago, they're like, you know what? Like, I could win that team a ring. Like, imagine that they had me. Imagine they had someone like
Mm.
me there. You know how dangerous that team would be? Like, all I had to do is literally just be like, I don't want to be a Cleveland Brown or an Oakland Raider or a Vegas Raider anymore, and I'm winning them a ring. Like, they're human. Remember, at the end of the day, they're human beings. They have to think in some sort of that regard. They want to win a ring. They don't put in that work to win 4 or 5 games every year with the same team just because they want to be loyal to that team. No, they want to win a ring. My point is that I think there is a lot of incentive for this to happen, and it should happen, and do whatever it takes. Yeah, if you overpay a little bit, it's not going to, it's whatever. It's a little scary. But I guarantee you, whether you trade 2 first-round picks and DJ Moore for Max Crosby, whether you trade 3 first-round picks for Myles Garrett, if those trades were to happen, Chicago will still be very happy with it. And they will still be very excited for the next upcoming season. I don't care what that is. It's just more of idealistically.
Yeah. It also kind of sucks for, like, this is a side thing I just thought about. It's like it's gonna suck for DJ if he gets traded because it's
Yeah.
like, dude, he finally won, finally won winning, and now he
Yeah.
has to be shipped off to Vegas. Like,
Yep.
that's messed
Yikes.
up on so many levels. But you got to do what you got to do.
No, seriously, it would suck. And, if there is a world where we can make one of those trades without having to get rid of DJ Moore, because I know people have talked about him taking a pay cut. I don't see it happening when you just extended the guy. It's just like, hey, buddy, we gave you all this money and now we want it back. Like,
I mean, it happens. I mean,
It does
Mahomes took
happen. It's
a
just like, and also with wide receivers too. It even rarely happens with wide receivers. They want the ball. They're for better for worse selfish. And they
yeah,
put
it
in the
makes
work, so they
sense.
kind of have that right to be that way. But once again, you look at the production. It's nothing against DJ Moore. I love DJ Moore. I hope we can find a way to keep him in Chicago at the right price. But at the end of the day, we're trying to win a ring out here, man. And if we got to do that without you, I'm down for that. Unfortunately, it's gonna
I
suck, but I'm winning. I'm choosing my team over the player.
right, and I just saw. I just wanted to share this as well.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can do it. All right, so let me blow this up real quick. So it's Nick Whalen. Shout out Nick for with these keeping us on our toes when it comes to trade ideas. Miami gets the Bears 2026 second round pick, conditional 2027 day 3 pick, and Chicago.
Hey man, in what universe, bro? I think you'd get. I
They're
think
trying to
what you
clear
just
house,
offered, what you're getting, that right there is just for Devon Achane. I think. Like, I don't
pretty
think you're
much.
getting Chubb and Minka out of
Because they're
there.
both cut candidates. I feel like Bradley Chubb is definitely a cut candidate, and or like trying to get traded. Minka's also trying to get traded, but they're like not. They don't. Their value is really low right now. That's the issue. But that's why Devon Achane is really the big piece in this whole puzzle.
Oh yeah.
And with Miami trying to blow it up right now, like you're wasting Devon Achane's potential. I guess I don't know. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I wouldn't mind it. I would say for Minka Fitzpatrick, it's an interesting one because that's really going to depend on if they want Kevin Byard back. And I wouldn't mind Fitzpatrick, but I do really want Byard back because he knows the system,
Mm-hmm.
and he's played in two systems. And not only that, we know now that Byard's been pretty, like, he wasn't, obviously in 2024, he wasn't as good as this year because he was literally, the best safety in the league this year. That's made evident by his first team all pro selection. But
Mm-hmm.
it's like, I kind of want to keep that continuity. Like, one of the things, I'll go on, like, I don't know if you know the website, Stick to the Model, with like the whole offseason mock stuff and everything. Um, I kind of play around with that. And when I'm doing those, I have to remember that you can't strip this team too much of talent. Like, obviously there's some players I got to go, whether it's, Brisker, whether it's DJ, whether it's Tremaine Edmonds, DeAndre Swift. And it's like, realistically, you can only pick a couple of those guys before you start getting into dangerous waters of doing too much to your team, because a big proponent of a team's success is the cohesion they have with each other. That I'm looking for the word, but that sort of that cohesion of just playing together, and that chemistry, the chemistry of just
Chemistry.
playing, of playing together and having those players there and knowing the tendencies of each of those players. Like, this isn't Madden, where you just plug and play and they just do whatever the rating says. Like, there's no guarantee that Bradley Chubb and Minka and A-Chain can just all come into the system and be as good as they were in Miami, or at least in some way, shape, or form. Also, I don't like, the only big thing here is A-Chan. Like, Bradley Chubb would be fine, but does he really fix your pass rush that much? Like, I think he fixes your pass rush against bad offensive lines. Like, if you take a Bradley Chubb and Montez Sweat led offensive line against the Browns, sure, you'll have a field day. If you take that against maybe this year's Lions, you'll probably create more pressure. But if you're going against better offensive lines like the Rams, you're going against, I think Seattle's offensive line was pretty decent this year. Like, if you're going against, some pretty good offensive lines, I'm not sure that, really moves the needle a whole lot.
I think that I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but
No,
like
you're
I
good.
just think that from the perspective of getting a Bradley Chubb, I think you're saving your first round pick to get an edge rusher in the draft or a defensive tackle to
That's
alleviate
true.
that thing. And I think that's the whole purpose of that. And I think Bradley Chubb is a good uh it's a good spot person to have at the moment to help develop alongside Montez Sweat for anyone that we end up drafting as an edge rusher. So I think that'd be pretty nice, and it won't cost the Bears quite a lot either. And it will, in terms of like the cap situation that we're currently in, I think this would kind of bode well for us. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, you know what though, and I can see that. My only issue, and this is sort of what kind of ties back into the whole like trades from Max Crosby and Miles Garrett. We're so used to picking in the top 10, right? This would
Hmm.
actually be the first time we are picking in the top half or the bottom half of the first round since 2013 with Kyle
Yep.
Long. This is the
Hmm.
first time. So we are very much used to either not having a first round pick or picking in always in range of blue chip talent of Caleb Williams, Darnell Wright, Roma Dunze, etc. So we have this is kind of new territory for a lot of Bears fans. And I think we got to keep in mind that whoever we're going to draft most likely isn't going to be a game changer until probably year 2 or year 3. And by that point, you're going to have to pay Caleb Williams. You can know, I mean, yeah, you can technically make a move for a top guy. Like we saw the Packers do that with Parsons after, paying Jordan Love. But then you run into the issue they ran into where once Parsons went down, they had nobody else.
Right.
Whereas on the what we have now, and which is why I pushed so damn hard, why I made a 30-minute rant video last year about us trading for Micah Parsons, is we just wasted another year of Caleb's contract where we could have had a top player. And had we had Micah Parsons on this year's team, we're winning a ring. I'm sorry. We're beating the Rams. We're beating Seattle. I don't care who. And we're definitely hanging 40 on the freaking Patriots. Like that's why I pounded the table so hard and why I will continue to pound the table so hard for Max Crosby or for any elite defensive lineman. Because yes, you could still do it at any point of Caleb's career, but it just makes it that more difficult when it comes to roster construction.
Hmm.
So once again, like yeah, I love HN. I think Chubb and Fitzpatrick, they're solid, and whoever we pick at pick 25, I trust the coaching staff. But it's just like, bro, like, do any of those moves seriously propel you to Super Bowl contention? Like, seriously push you in this year 2026 to super. And I get that the draft, it has to be a process, but I don't want to have to keep waiting on a player like a Caleb Banks or Caden McDonald to have to wait until year 2 or year 3 when we have to pay Caleb Williams to finally break out. And by the way, that's if they break out because the hit rate at pick 25 is a lot lower than a hit rate of a top 10 pick that we're so used to, by the way. So this is not like, oh, just because Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles made the selection that all of a sudden this dude is going to be Aaron Donald or Jeffrey Simmons or whatever. Like, no, there's very much a world where they're going to mess up like any other GM has in NFL history. So, but at least you know what you're getting with a guy like Max Crosby, with Myles Garrett. Even if you want to overpay a little bit for Trey Hendrickson, you know what you're getting with that, even if he may not be the same player he was back in 2024. You know what you're getting with those guys, my point. Those are game changers.
Yeah. No, I 100% understand that, and I think that I really do like Max Crosby. I would love to see him on this team, and I think that the only reason why I was kind of like pushing away or getting pushed away from it is the fact that it did cost an arm and a leg to get him.
Yeah.
In similar situation with how I'm starting to back off the Trey Hendrickson news a little bit, but at some point you have to go for either of them, like you said. Like
Right.
it's like something you need to do, but it is what it is, and we can only time will tell because what I think is like 6 days or so till the combine or something
Oh
like that,
yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
something like, and then like 50 or something days till draft. Like there's a lot there upcoming. Oh, free agency is coming up in like 15 or something days or something like that, like
Yeah,
some mid
first week of
March.
March. Yeah.
Yeah, so got March Madness and
Yep.
the March Madness of NFL free agency. So really looking forward to that. But yeah, I mean that's about it. I mean, it's kind of a slow kind of news week in terms outside of what happened this morning, but appreciate you joining the podcast, and thank you guys again so much for watching this episode of the Soback Sports podcast. Be sure to leave a like and a comment down below your thoughts on the topics discussed today. Also remember to like and subscribe to both of our channels. We post great content there. And any final remarks before we call it an episode, sir?
Please stay in Chicago Bears. That is my only thing. Whether if we can't trade for Crosby, if we can't trade for a top guy, please keep my city, please keep my team in this damn city or in this damn state. That's all I ask.
Amen. Amen. But yeah, that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you guys again so much for watching. And as always, we'll see you guys in the next one.
Deuces.